our African countries started started a journey to a continental market through the establishment of free trade areas of regional economic communities. And we are aware of the 8 regional economic communities that have been recognized by the EU. We have the ECOWAS, the COCA, the COMESA, and so forth. We have the SADC, that is the Southern African Development Community. And then we also have the CENSAD, that's the Community of Saharan States. And all of that. These were all foundations to the building of an economic community. So I think this time the AFCFTA was also brought in. As you are all aware, the agreement is one of the largest free trade agreements in the world, if not the largest. And this flagship program is basically being pursued in cognizance of the overall aspiration of the African people. That has been contained in the Agenda 2063 of the African Union. And basically, the vision is to just harmonize trade laws and resources and establish an integrated continental market with free movement of people, goods, and services. It is to bring together the fragmented markets that I spoke about to create one common market for all of us. So the agreement, the duty-free agreement connects about 1.3 billion people together with a combined GDP of almost 3.4 trillion. According to the World Bank, the agreement has the potential to be able to lift about 30 million people out of extreme poverty and increase Africa's export by some $560 billion.
Good afternoon.
Mostly going to the area of manufacturing and also boost income of Africans by some 450 billion by 2035, whilst adding about 76 billion to the income of the rest of the world. So this is one is quite the largest free trade agreement ever with so much potential. The agreement is also likely to boost wages of people, both skilled and unskilled labor by some 9.3%. About some 9.3%. So what is the status of the AFCFTA currently? So it is so far 54 out of 55 member countries have signed the agreement. 44 have ratified the agreement and become state parties. And the AFCFTA and make the AFCFTA part of their domestic legal instruments. So, and then 43 of these countries have officially submitted their instrument of ratification also to the African Union. So what are some of the strategic objectives of the AFCFTA? As I said, it is one of the largest free trade areas in the world, and it makes intra-African trade easier by creating a single market for goods and services. So what it means is that we can be able to move goods from country A to the other without any hindrance, without any barrier. It also makes it easier for businesses, especially the small businesses, to effectively trade. And also the removal of the non-tariff barriers as well is one of the key components of the AFCFTA, and that makes trade between African countries easier. So issues of custom delays are things that the agreement seeks to address. It also builds African expertise in the area of intellectual property rights, investment, competition, and then commerce. So it is going to enhance investment, it's going to enhance competition. When there is competition, when there is competitive trading, there is efficiency. And when there is efficiency, there is growth and there is development. Lower tariffs is what it also seeks to achieve between member states. It also helps develop policies that are able to facilitate trade and then interrelated services. So the agreement has a whole framework, and I want to take us through it gradually. I want you to just dive a little bit into this. So the framework comes first with an agreement. So the agreement states the objectives, the guidelines, the rationale, the approach, and the institutional structure of the trade agreement. And the objectives were what I earlier spoke about. Another component of the ASCFTA protocol is the of the ASCFTA framework is a protocol. That the protocol sets out what I call the agenda and the liberalization objectives and modalities, and then indicators for liberalization in specific thematic areas. So we have protocol on goods, protocol on services, protocol on rules and procedures, protocols on competition, investment, intellectual property rights, e-commerce, and all of that. And I will explain further. So once these protocols are set, what needs is negotiation. The countries will then have to negotiate along these protocols. So African countries will negotiate on specific issues such as tariffs and rules for specific products. And that's where you keep hearing negotiations are ongoing, negotiations are ongoing. So the negotiations are also phased in two. We have the phase one, which has it is 87% complete, which mostly deals with the trading goods, which has 9 annexes. And then also the trade and services. That's where the state parties agree to progressively liberalize trade and services across the continent on the basis of equity, balance, and mutual benefits by eliminating tariffs to trade and services. And under the trade and services, there are some priority areas that are being negotiated. That is financial, you have the business, tourism, and then your sector, which is transport, and then communication. These are key priority areas that are being considered under the trade and services. Then we have the protocol on rules and procedures on the settlement of dispute. This is one of my favorite components of this whole agreement, because the dispute settlement system, sorry. Okay. So the dispute settlement system is central, is a central element to providing security and predictability to the regional trading system. That's what it seeks to achieve. The protocol applies to disputes between member states or state parties with regards to their rights and obligations under the agreement. So if there are challenges between two member states, this body, this appellate body, is able to adjudicate it and then address conflicts among parties. The phase two, which deals with protocol on intellectual property rights, investment and competition, as well as e-commerce and women and youth, seek to support the phase one protocol. Now, the phase two is currently ongoing. That is what is happening currently. And the protocol on intellectual property right basically is a provision to incentivize increase innovation, to promote innovation, and enhance the level of playing field that will support trade. The protocol investment component, the provision has provision on promoting and facilitating protection to galvanize the needed infrastructure for African economies to be able to grow. So there's a protocol that is being negotiated on that. There's also the competition policy, provision that will enable fair competition. There is a need for fair competition because the AFCFTA allows openness. The openness must also be guarded by competition so that there's no unfair market. Ghanaian traders don't tend to benefit from unfair government subsidies at the detriment of other African exporters or traders. So there's a protocol that is going to address competition and meet outcomes that stimulate industrialization and development. There's also the protocol that is on e-commerce. E-commerce, one of the e-commerce became very important owing to the experience from the COVID. When COVID happened and nobody there was no movement of people, there were restrictions, border closure, and all that. Still, there was trading. That is where we then realized that e-commerce was significant to trade. And so there's a whole protocol on that is going to speed up how we can also involve e-commerce into our trading architecture. So under the protocol, the schedule of, there's something we call the schedule of tariff for the protocol on trading in goods and services. So basically, the ASEFTA parties submit commitments, the outcome of when they do the negotiations, which include the removal of tariff for goods and goods for services, and then the timeline for implementation of the new arrangement. So the tariff concession basically means removing tariff duties that would otherwise be payable under the tariff for certain goods. So under the ASEFTA agreement, in terms of market access, 97% tariff liberalization has been adopted at the level of ambition for goods that are being traded among member states. So a list of negotiated tariff concessions or commitment by each parties would have been set out, setting out the terms, the conditions, the qualifications under which the goods must be imported under ASEFTA. So 3 categories of products and then their tariff concession. We have category A. These are non-sensitive products, and then they include 90% of tariff lines. The remaining 10% is composed of 7% for sensitive products and then 3% for exclusive products. So this graph is going to tell us basically what it is. So for the 90% non-sensitive products for non-least developed countries, they will fully liberalize over a 5-year linear cut, whilst the least developed countries, like Ghana, will fully liberalize over 10-year period. So here it being said that the 90% is going to be liberalized over a 10-year period. So what it means is that officially the agreement was took off in 2021, and we are in 2022, so 2 years. So that's how it's being cut. So 2 years, 20% cut. And if you are talking about percentage, then 20% cut, 2023 with 30% till the 10th year, where we then get a 0% tariff. So what I'm trying to say is that if you should start exporting right now, even though you are in the service sector, but you are moving goods, and it's important to understand some of those things. If you move a good right now, it doesn't mean you're going to enjoy 0% tariff. 0% duty on your product when you get to the destination market. No, you need to understand the linear cut, or how the product, how the liberalization is being done in each of these countries. For the 7% products which are considered sensitive goods, they will also be fully liberalized. For the least developed countries, they will liberalize over a 10-year period, while the least developed countries will liberalize over a 30-year period. 3% are just excluded products. These are products that will not have any cut, but will be reviewed every five years. So this is very important, because if we are going to move a product from Ghana to say Kenya or to South Africa, it is important to know the product I'm moving, which area, which category does it fall? Is it falling under the 90% liberalized goods, or 7% sensitive product, or a 3% excluded product? It is under the 3%, you should know that you are not going to enjoy any liberalization or tariff, any tariff cut on that. If it's under the 90%, you should know the year in which you are exporting, and then know the country, which categories, country classification it falls. These are very, very key before you move a product, so that you don't send a product to a country and then they tell you, no, this is not part of our thing, and then you have to move the good back or incur extra cost. There's also, for ECOWAS, we have submitted our tariff concession as a block. So Ghana is part of ECOWAS and submitted as a block. For the A category A list, we have about 5,516 tariff lines. For the sensitive products, we have 429, and then for the excluded products, that's category C, which is a 3%, we have 184 tariff lines. These, the ASEFTA Secretariat is going to launch an e-tariff book. So you'll be able to go online, you enter the name of the product, and then where you are taking it from, and the destination market. So if you pick Kenya, the system is going to tell you whether that product falls under 90 or under their 7% or under their 3%. But if it is within Africa, you should just know that once that product is under 90, under the maybe the 90% liberalized goods, that's how to be in other African countries. So Nigeria also would have accepted it under 90%, just because we all think we submitted our listing as a block. So currently, 44 tariff offers have so far been received from state parties. When I say state parties, are those who have signed and then ratified the agreement, which include 4 custom unions, namely the East African Community, the CEMAC, ECOWAS is also here, then the SAFI as well. The other countries are also gradually working on this, and then they'll submit their offers. 29 offers have been verified by the Secretariat to have met the minimum threshold of 90% of the tariff lines, and they are ready to commence trading for those tariff lines up to the 90%. Now, having known the tariff lines, again, the concession, the liberalization, whether the product falls under the 90% or 7% or the 3%, another critical thing that is important is the certificate of origin, the ASCFTA certificate of origin. That serves as a passport to the movement of goods. So the rules of origin just clearly specifies the condition under which a product traded between parties to the agreement can claim local content or economic origin status. So if you don't have that certificate, you cannot move the product. And for you to have that certificate, there are 3 criteria that you must meet. 1, the good must be wholly obtained from that state party. What I mean is that the raw materials that you use or the product itself that you are exporting was sourced domestically or from the African market. That is very important. Either undergone substantial transformation, that is, if it is not sourced from Africa, or you probably imported tomato, raw tomato, and then we are able to transform it into tomato paste. That undergoes significant transformation. The HS code of tomato and then the HS code to export the tomato paste will definitely be different, and that will then fall under the significant transformation. Or it has undergone some value addition, at least 30 to 60%. That is very important. For these also, state parties negotiated, and they have negotiated up to 87%. And at the last Council of Ministers meeting, I was held, it was agreed that trading will start even at the 87% of negotiations on the rules of origin. So having understand these whole agreements in perspective, what then are the opportunities for the players in the transport and logistics sector? The AFCFTA is expected to create a new trading and entrepreneurial opportunities, especially for women and youth in the formal and in the informal sector. And also in the services sector. The service sector in Africa is very, very important because services can be traded in themselves. So you are in the service sector and it can be traded in themselves, as in like how we have hospitality, and like we use the hotel rooms and all of that. The production of goods will require the service input. That is the design, energy, movement, and distribution of goods. All these will require the logistics sector. So one of the key things, the opportunities for the logistics and transport sector is inherent, as I said, in the agreement itself. Now, one of the key things I said was that the AFCFTA will boost trade, and that also will boost the transport and logistics sector, activities in the transport and logistics sector. As I was earlier explaining, the agreement requires that all state parties eradicate 90% of tariffs, so thereby making way for tax-free access to the African market. And with this objective to increase intra-African trade, that is a projection. I earlier said that the World Bank said that intra-African export is going to increase by more than 81%. At the same time, increasing export outside Africa by some 90% within the next 14 years. Now, one key sector that is going to benefit from this is the manufacturing sector and then the transport sector as well. For the manufacturing sector, most importantly, it is projected to increase by 110% in trade within Africa. And this provides a huge, this provides what I call, this provides a huge opportunity for supply chain diversification. This will benefit you in the sector in the sense that you will have to be moving raw materials from their source to the manufacturing sectors. At the same time, you also be moving finished products from across the various countries. Now, mind you, I earlier said that the rules of origin criteria also allow businesses to source their raw materials from the African market to qualify to trade under the AFCFTA. Your materials must be wholly obtained from the African market. So that will mean a lot of movement. If you can just take that, that's a whole lot of movement that is going to happen. Either through those blockades, those tariff barriers, and that was used to prevent movements of goods will not be removed. So someone in Ghana will be able to source his tomato from Egypt or from Cote d'Ivoire or from Nigeria just to produce something else. And the person will need the players in the sector. Instead of going to source it from the US or from the European market, now they will be able to source it from the African market under the ASEAN. So there's going to be a whole lot of movement. So you need to position yourself and then begin to set your mind that this is going to be a heated activity for you. Because most people want to benefit from the AFCFTA. The removal of the tariffs, that is the technical and non-technical tariffs, will also make freight cheaper and gain access to wider markets. So the removal of these tariffs will boost operation in the logistics sector in the sense that it will have impact on pricing. I know that the barrier, the challenges, the bureaucracies at the port and all of that are some of the things that causes the price of freight in Africa to be high. So I have a friend who wanted to export something to Nigeria. When we did the calculation, it was twice the price of the product itself already. But when he was moving it into the US, it was very cheap. As I already explained, the non-technical barriers increases the time spent at the borders. A company also told me recently, a personal experience, that they spend close to 1 million Ghana cedis annually on bureaucratic processes at the ports and on our borders or at checkpoints alone. I was so amazed to spend 1 million Ghana cedis annually just because of the bureaucratic processes. And this all increases the transportation cost and delays in delivery of goods and increases the demurrage. So if the AFCFTA is effectively implemented, it will reduce the cost of freight and increase trade. And you see more African businesses using our transport and logistics sector players more than relying on foreign ones who are cheaper. The removal of tariffs will also reduce the cost of the products that are being sold. Now, as I earlier said in my friend's case, because the product alone is very expensive, he or she is not willing to export it into the Nigerian market. And if he is not willing to export it into the Nigerian market, what happens? He's not going to require the service of a freight forwarder or someone in the sector to move his goods for him or for her. So the AFCFTA will, when these tariffs are being removed, our products will become cheaper. In effect, African products will become less expensive, and means the competition that it will all be facing because we need to trade competitively and increase new markets for manufacturers. And this will benefit the transport and logistics sector players tremendously because there will be high demand for made in African products. The removal of these tariffs also provide opportunity for you, the sector players, as well, where you have access to a 1.2 billion market. This will include you setting up your offices or logistics office, logistics and transport offices in other parts of the country without any hindrance, because the AFCFTA allows for the movement of goods, persons, and services. So you will now be opening branches, Kenya, South Africa, Egypt, looking at the market trends. So the AFCFTA gives us a very huge opportunity as sector players. Study shows that reducing the delays in the borders to 1 week or less will increase production from 0.1% to 10.2%. So if this is what is going to be the benefit from the AFCFTA, then the industry, the transport and logistics sector have a greater chance to be able to benefit largely, because you are going to benefit both directly and indirectly. Now, improved infrastructure will also increase traffic flows on all transport modes. So AFCFTA is such that it will force trade-related infrastructure among member states. So I would say that the benefit of the AFCFTA largely will not come, by chance, and that is why there's a program of action to boost intra-African trade that has been adopted by the EU. And once that is a gap, one of the key clusters of this is trade infrastructure. Now, for that to be effective, for trade to be critically effective, infrastructure needs to be enhanced, and that is what the AFCFTA is to achieve. It is expected that the AFCFTA will significantly increase traffic flows on all transport modes, including road, rail, maritime, and air. By 2030, AFCFTA will require about 1.84 million trucks for bulk cargo, and then 248,000 trucks for container cargo. That is how big the AFCFTA is. And this will increase to about 1.95 million, 288,000 trucks respectively, if planned infrastructure are also effectively implemented. So AFCFTA provides a huge opportunity for the logistics sector because it is going to force infrastructure, and this infrastructure is going to enhance the movement of goods across the member states. So if you take, for instance, the PIDA, is projected to potentially increase road networks if effectively implemented. Increase road network by some 26,500 kilometers. Already, there are some highway projects that are currently being considered. We could talk about the Tripoli to Cape Town, the Dakar to Lagos, the Ghana from the Abidjan, Ghana, Togo. Then we also have the Dakar to Lagos, the OJS to Lagos. We have the Cairo to Dakar to Cape Town as well. These are key projects that are being facilitated to be able to improve infrastructure. And once that is done, it is likely to increase economic growth by some 250 billion. In this respect, there will be more trade routes that will be developed across the country. And this is going to give rise to new warehouse operators to help shippers in the transportation of perishables and shift to other forms of transportation with access to cheap, and also have provide the opportunity to access cheaper transportation such as rail. That is a key factor that is likely to be enhanced. This will also mean generating the need for professionals. So the sector players will need to generate professionals, expert logistics agents, specialized in cold chain logistics, suitable warehouses, and other specific logistics services. So the wide range of options in the sector will also give rise to innovation, competition, efficiency, and better pricing of freight. Another key component that is very important to me is the digital component of the ESCFT. I earlier said that the COVID pandemic drew our attention to the relevance of e-commerce in trade. Now, under phase 2 of the agreement, it clearly explains the need to develop a digital economy that will be able to boost intra-African trade. So this agreement will see a boost in digital infrastructure matched with a robust growth in the e-commerce sector. As a result, there will be opportunities for greater efficiency, entrepreneurship, and creation of new markets and jobs. Our present inability to use technology to connect shippers to goods leads to high movement costs and makes logistics in Africa more expensive than the rest of the world. So one of the ways this happens is that transporters cannot ensure the dropping of goods for both ends of their journey, a concept that is known as empty runs. And when this happens, prices begin to go up. So you begin to see the involvement of technology, where I can sit in the comfort of my home and then be able to just, search for a service provider, and then they come straight to my doorstep and pick my goods and then go. So that's how the sector is going forward for us, especially in the e-commerce sector. So you need to start looking at digitalization in your sector or in your companies. It is important to incorporate some of these e-commerce or digitalization in your operations, because the ASCFU is going to increase competition. So I don't necessarily need to go and have a big office in Tema to say I am into this. In the comfort of my home, with a very efficient app or a platform, online platform, I should be able to run effectively just as any other business. And this will help the youth, most especially, who are more into digital trade. One of the tools of the ESCFTA is the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. So the ESCFTA seeks to address direct challenge to financial integration. For instance, the cost of moving money between Rwanda and then Tanzania is 8 times that of moving it from UK and Pakistan. Can you imagine? So the PAPS was introduced as a cross-border payment developed by the AfriESM to support AU to simplify payment and reduce dollar usage. Basically, what this happens is that if the client want to pay you, you're able to render a service to the client in Kenya. If Kenya or Nigeria, the Nigerian customer wouldn't have to look for a dollar to be able to pay you back in your local currency here. All they need is they pay in naira, and you receive your money here in Ghana in savings. That is a strict offer that this product or this settlement system offers. It has been designed to enable efficient flow of money across the African borders. It also minimizes the risk and contributes to financial integration. Instead of you carrying a whole lot of Ghana cedi in your pocket, then you get to Nigeria and then you now have to start looking for a foreign loan to convert from naira and from Ghana cedi to naira. No, it's not necessary. With the Pan-African payment system, this becomes a thing of the past. Now, what this does is that it facilitates trade and economic activities among the African countries. It increases the velocity of money for the sector players in the transport and logistics sector. For investment, what that means is that money is able to move quickly. You are able to render a service to a client in a different country, you receive your money instantly. Once you get your money, you can use it to invest into another consignment, another project, or another work, another offer that is being presented to you. It also eases the pressure on demand for hard currencies, thereby ensuring foreign exchange liquidity stability. We know that one of the things that continue to affect pricing is exchange rate. And that is because of a high demand for dollar to be able to trade, even just among ourselves. For me to just move a good from Ghana to Togo, you can imagine the hurdle I have to pass through, even in payment. I have to look for their cipher before I can be able to purchase anything. But for large consignment operators like yourselves, you are required to acquire dollar to be able to do an easy conversion in the other country or a destination country. But with the pass, it's able to help reduce the pressure on the foreign exchange. It's also able to help access instant or near instant payments cross-border without hassle. That is what I earlier said. So you're able to have instant money. And it takes 3 seconds for transactions to be done. In Ghana, our banks are hooked using the GIPS system. So once any bank that is connected to the GIPS platform has access to the pass and could easily use it. So the Pan-African payment also improves working capital because you are able to have enough money at your disposal. Your clients are able to pay you on time. There are no liabilities at the other end of the market for you. Once you render a service, you are easily paid, and then the money is given to you for you to use for other transactions. Currently, the Pan-African, the PAPS is being implemented in 6 countries, that is Ghana, Guinea, Gambia, Liberia, Nigeria, and then Sierra Leone. One critical thing that hindered trade among ourselves also had to do with market information. So the ATO seek to address hindrances to trade due to the lack of information. Most people are not able to trade among ourselves because we don't know how the market looks like. You are not able to extend your services to other countries because you don't know how the market is like. What is their export trend? How often, what is the situation? If I want to go and then take a consignment and move to this country, what are the measures requirements I need? What documentation do I need? Because we don't know some of these things, it's riskier for people or sector players to be able to engage in trade. But with this tool of the ASCAT, which is the African Trade Observatory, which is one of the 5 AFTA instruments, it provides ready and reliable market information for players in the sector like yourself to identify and compare emerging opportunities across the country and then make informed decisions. So the ATO provides a huge opportunity for logistics to be able to access markets that hitherto they had no knowledge about, or that hitherto would have cost you a lot to be able to go and engage with your market research or market development analysis. The ATO, a component of the ASCAT, gives you an easy access. There's also the reporting, monitoring and elimination of non-tariff barriers. There's a portal that's been developed where operators will also have access to, lodge complaints about challenges. Hitherto, these things are not common. So if you face a challenge in a destination country operating under the ASCAT, one of the things that entrepreneurs in the logistics sector will want is how easy can these things be resolved? Who should I report to? How can what are the stages it has to go through to be addressed? How long does it take to be addressed? So there's a portal that has also been created. It's a non-tariff online reporting portal that people can use to file complaint about specific trade obstacles encountered during trading across borders. For example, excessive delays. You could just at the tip of your finger report an issue, and then this would also be easily looked at. That is very critical for the movement of goods for the transport and logistics sector. So how can you, and that is a key component of the protocol and the trading goods under the Annex 5. So how can the logistic operators avoid some of these non-tariff barriers? Those are important, just as how the market gives free access. It's also important we also know how we prevent some of the technical ones that may exist without us knowing. So one, you should conduct a thorough study on the required documentation that you needed to enter into a destination market. You may rely on some professionals, you can come to the MCO, and then gather information on the market that you are going before you take your next step to say, I'm moving these goods for this customer into the market. You also need some guidance from government institutions like us on the routes you need to use, the official routes you need to use, so that you don't end up facing some of these bureaucracies at the checkpoint. And then using the trade portal, it's also very, very important to be able to understand how the market I'm entering into looks like, what are the documentation it will require, and all of that. It's very, very important. There's also the MANSA, which is the due diligence platform, customer due diligence platform, and the Know Your Customer platform that has also been developed by the CILT. What this seeks to achieve for you, the sector players, is that you're able to assess be able to conduct a due diligence on a customer before you even render your service. So it's an online portal that you can register and then be part of, so that you are able to conduct checks on institutions, on businesses before you even engage them to do anything for them, before you even engage them for any other thing. So the platform will also serve to address key related issues or challenges facing the country, including the lack of market information, high cost of doing business, and discovering African counterparts. So these are important tools that you need to take advantage of. If you're able to do this, then your operations will boost significantly. You should be able to understand some of these tools before you start engaging in your service as a transporter or a player in the sector. So to quickly conclude, trading under the ASCFT means liberalizing the market for goods and services. It is to ensure easy movement of people and then ensure a boost in economic growth, prosperity of Africans. Harnessing the benefits of the ASCFT will also require clear national strategy and plan. As I earlier said, the NCO will be launching this national policy framework, after policy framework later next week. And it is to set out our strategic plan and focus. And these will involve actively facilitating support for companies to be able to participate competitively in the AFCFTA. One of the key components of the national Africa policy framework that we developed focuses largely on the transport and logistics sector and how we can make them competitive, how they can be able to access the trade finance, insurance to be able to compete effectively. So adequate knowledge of the AFCFTA, adherence and compliance with the annexes to the protocol on trade in English are pertinent to realizing the stated objective implemented under the AFTA for the transport and logistics sector. And there's a need to also invest in training and capacity building of operational staff to provide requisite infrastructure to support the AFCFTA as a sector. So thank you, Patrick.
Thank you so very much, Divine. Thank you so very much, Divine. That is a up-to-notch presentation. I'm grateful for all the insights that you've indeed provided. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a presentation from our brother Divine. The floor is now open for any of your questions, please. If there's any question, please, you can go ahead and ask your question. If you want to also put your remarks or question at the chat column, please, you can also go ahead and make it possible. I'll make it available to Divine to answer. So please, if there's any question, let me see your hand up so we can invite you to ask your question. Anyone? So Divine, let me begin with my question. So assuming that I'm graduate with logistics and supply chain as my first degree, I've been able to do 3 years in my career, and I want to really position myself and take advantage within this part of continental free trade. Is there any further capacity building or a course within the AFTA or anywhere that you think that I should offer that will enable my chances to be taken with, to enable my chances in the career within the continental free trade? Is there any course anywhere that the continental free trade have made available for the populace if they want to have a career path within the continental free trade?
All right. Yes, so the career path you need to choose, as I already said, are quite inherent in the agreement itself. I just spoke about the protocol on e-commerce. So let me give you a practical example. I have a friend who is running this Uber service. So all of a sudden, I asked him, what if you go and then learn some coding or app development to develop your own app? That will integrate, that will also give option for French speaking with and all of that, so that you can, because he's at the border, every time you do movements, can you do that kind of over thing where I pick you from Ghana, I drop you to I come back, kind of like that quick movement of thing, but it should be an app that you can easily develop. So I remember him first denying it that no, it wasn't necessary. But when the COVID came, and then we realized that no, we were going digital in everything that we were doing, he then saw the need to go and then enhance his skills in digital trade. Now, digital marketing alone is a whole thing on its own that people need to know. You can establish, you could have your office in, say, Tema, in Accra or whatever. But if you don't have a strong digital marketing brand or strategy, you will be wherever you are and expecting somebody to walk to come to your office and request for service. That will not happen. But when you are able to go digital, start using digital marketing apps, invest into that skill, then you will see that you will end up even receiving orders from people outside even the country. So it's not enough to just learn transport and logistics from the university. There is a need to add certain things. That's where the world is going. Digitalization, digital economy is what is happening now. So I will strongly advise you to go into that sector as well. Learn more to see how you can digitalize your operations and also, improve your marketing, most especially in digital marketing, to be able to secure more clients for yourself. If not, the traditional way of getting businesses will not work. Now, I know there are further courses that are being run. I know GEPA has a school, GEPA School, which runs significant courses for exporters. So you could enroll in that sector as well. The NCO is also coming up with some training models for industry players like yourself, that when it's, launched, when it's launched, will let you all know to be able to effectively participate.
All right, thank you very much. I can see the hand of Tony. Tony, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, please, Tony.
Yes, nice one. Thank you very much for this presentation. In the first slide, I remember Divine mentioned factors that leads to low intra-African trade, like key factors to low intra-African trade. He mentioned high dependence on raw commodity export. I want to know, what is the role of the AFC FTA on industrialization in Africa? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
All right.
So the role of the AFCFTA in industrialization in Africa. I remember you also mentioned the opportunities under the AFCFTA for the logistics and transport sector, that players will have to move raw materials in and from source to manufacturers and all that. So I really want to know if there's any agreements or any framework for the AFCFTA with regards to the industrialization in Africa. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Patrick, should I take another more? I can just answer from here.
Right, is there any other question, please? Anyone, so that Divine can have 2 or 3. Any other question? All right, Divine, you can go ahead and maybe tackle this one.
So, as I said, there is African continental free trade area is an area that is being liberalized for easy movement of goods and persons. The AFCFTA, where I am at the National After Coordination Office. The Secretariat is up there. My understanding is that they are not to tell each member state how they should do their trading to reap the benefit. You are supposed to internalize the whole agreement, the opportunities the agreement offers, internalize it, and then add value to your product. We cannot grow competitively in terms of trade if we are trading raw materials for raw materials. The person in Togo doesn't need to be taking yam from Ghana when he or she can also produce a yam. But if it is converted into frozen chips or yam and is being traded, then you see even the value of the product will increase. So to answer your question, it's important for member states to rather internalize the agreement to suit their strategy. So if you look at the National After Coordination Office, where I am, which leads the Ghanaian strategy, one of the key things we are doing is that we started a project called the Market Expansion Project, where we've identified companies or businesses or enterprises that have built strong market presence, and then see how we can help them to be able to add value to their product, to be able to export. Because trading is not only about, when I talk about trading, I'm not necessarily talking about trading in its raw state, but value-added trading. That is what is going to be competitive. You can't pick raw yam to the Nigerian market to say you're going to trade competitively. You're going to meet competition. But then, if you are able to say you are converting your raw yam into frozen yam chips to trade, so that for the restaurant in Nigeria wouldn't have to go peeling off yam to now fry it, to now start selling. They just have to just dip it into the deep fryer because they have sourced the frozen chips from Ghana. That is what is going to be the game changer in this case under the AFCFTA. So for Ghana, we have identified some local companies and asked ourselves, so what you are doing, how can we help you to be able to now add value to it so you don't continue exporting the product in its raw state? Does it need financial assistance? They will come in to help. Does it need equipment? Will come to help. Does it need human resource or human capital? We'll do that. Do you need capacity building? We have models that go into that. That is what the market enterprise seeks to do. So for the AFCFTA, it has given this framework what it has to do, what it needs to achieve. To achieve it now at the local level or at the national level depends on the way the member state internalizes this agreement to benefit its members. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much, Divine. I have Joshua Entry, who also has a question. Joshua, you have the floor. Hello, Joshua. Entry, you have the floor. All right, any other person with a question? Anyone with a question for Divine?
Hello.
Hello, Joshua, I can hear you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Divine. Yes, I was just following the protocols and I saw you giving the protocol on service and for goods. So I wanted to find out for works, do you classify that under service, or that one, the protocol does not cater for that? Thank you. And I think my second question has to do with the opportunities. From the presentation, I can envisage that the opportunities in terms of procurement or logistics that pertains to members has to do an indirectly one, what we seek to obtain from the agreement itself. What of the direct employment that the AFT also gives to members? Is there anything like that, or there is nothing like that in the pipeline in the meantime?
All right, Divine. So please, you can pick it up from there.
Okay. So let me take the first one. So I earlier said that the transport is under the trading service because you are rendering a service. You are trading service, and that is under the protocol on trading service. And I also stated that under the protocol on trading service, one of the key priority sectors they are looking at is transport. So to answer that, yes, you are it's under the transport, and the trading service is what pertains to you, because you don't trade goods, you trade in service. You move the goods from point A to the other. So it's a service you are rendering. The other one is the direct employment. I don't know if you are trying to say the ASCS secretariat employing you, or it's about the job opportunity. Maybe you can explain that for me.
So Divine, assuming that somebody wants to be employed at the AFTA, what should she do to be employed?
Oh, okay. So for that, I think they have their portal that they always use to open nominations. When you go to the website, currently, you should see, when you click careers, you should see a list of opportunities that are there. They always recruit AU in per se, always will recruit to its various agencies. So you just have to go there. It's an online application. You go there, you select the one that best suits you, and then your application will then go through the requisite human resource procedures, and then you will be recruited once you fulfill the requirements. So it's an open selection process. So you can go to the website there now, and then there are some current applications that are there, career opportunities, job opportunities there currently. So once it pertains to you, you apply online, and then you take it from there.
Thank you. Joshua, I saw your hand again. Any follow-up question, Joshua?
No, please. I think I'm fine.
Okay, you're fine with it.
Thank you.
Colleagues, fellow logisticians, any other question, please? From anyone?
Yeah. Patrick, I have one question to ask.
President, please go ahead.
I want to know from Mr. Divine, any collaboration with his office. And when I say his office, I mean the National Coordinating Office after. And the business resource center that was recently launched by the Minister for Trade and Industry. I'm asking this on the premise that he mentioned, in answering one of the questions, that their office is there to support, to aid, to give assistance to would-be potential and existing tradesmen who would want to have some kind of either financial, human resource, in whichever form of assistance that they need in trade, to be able to facilitate this within locally, other than just shipping out materials and all that. I want to know whether there is, of course, I appreciate that his office comes directly under the Minister of the Trade and Industry, but I want to know to what extent are you collaborating to
All right, President, thank you. Let me pick another question too from Peter. Peter, your question. Hello, Peter.
Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, please, Peter.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. When Mr. Divine was speaking, he made mention of trade between African countries as compared to trade within Africa and the other part of the world. But my question is, looking at trading with Africa with other part of the world, the common reason is sometimes because of the cost involved dealing within Africa. He made mention of them submitting tariffs within the Africa free trade. I don't know if the Secretariat or the AFTA have any policy regarding how Africa countries, in terms of maybe tariffs adjustment, or regarding Africa trading with other part of the world. My problem is if we don't have any, still maintains, because of that part of the world, their product may be cheaper as compared to within Africa. So I just want you to know if they have a policy within the AFTA that will lower the cost of trade within Africa as compared to other part of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. All right, so Divine, you could just handle the 2 questions for me. Hello, Divine.
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, I muted myself. So I'm saying that, Prezo, if you can forgive me, let me answer the second question, and the last person who just asked this question, and then come to yours.
That's okay.
So I spoke about the liberalization. What the AFCFTA seeks to generally achieve is to ensure free movement of goods from one place to the other within the African continent. I just explained that one of the reasons why our products looks expensive is just because of the barriers that we have to undergo. I was telling a colleague last time, or I think it was a youth session at the CILT forum. Yes, I was telling them that somewhere in what's the name of in part of home here, where they do the kente with Petwe, there's a place called Petwe. Petwe is in Ghana. The only thing that separates Ghana from Togo is a main road. It's just a main road. So if I move to the left side of the road, I'm in Ghana. If I move to the other side, I'm in Togo. But if I pick my phone to say I'm calling my friend at just the other side of the road who is in Togo, it will cost me more than to call somebody in UK or in US. That is how bad the situation is. I could have easily get shouted, hey, I want this, but if I choose to call, why should it be so? So it's some of these things that make our products expensive. And when the products are expensive, sector players like yourself will not be more engaged to engage into African activities. I wouldn't want to go and engage a service of a transporter to move my goods from Ghana to Kenya for me, because it's going to be very expensive compared to someone moving from US into Ghana. It's cheaper. So if we're able to remove some of these bottlenecks, and then it's easy for me to just cross to other side of the country or to another, just to trade and come back easily. If it's easy for me to be able to move money from one country to the other, if it's easy for me to be able to enter into a country without no complex visa issues and all of that, I think our products will be very, very cheaper than any place, because we have all the materials here. We have all the raw materials here. So it is about targeting the tariff barriers or the bottlenecks at the checkpoints and borders, the technical and non-technical barriers, is what is causing our prices to be very expensive. And I explained that. So if we're able to remove this under the AFCFTA, our products should be cheaper. And what is also going to happen is that there will be kind of a rousing support for made in Africa products. And when that begins to happen, when people prefer African products, what is going to happen is that the focus will now be turned to the African market than the outside market. I'm not saying that they will also not come in. They could come in strategically. And that will really enhance competition and that will enhance efficiency because they know that the market is now easily accessible. So if we focus on the non-tariff barriers, I think we'll be able to deal with those things because you can't go setting up policy to say, I want to be somebody moving something from Europe to Ghana should be paying this because of the AFCFTA, paying higher tariff because of the AFCFTA. You know, the AFCFTA is an agreement on its own. There are other agreements that deal with that. And in this perspective, we are talking about the AFCFTA. All right, Presto, of course, you know, even with what we are doing is a collaboration. And I always say that we need the stakeholders in the trade to be able to effectively implement Ghanaian strategy. That is very important. And we've engaged the players in the sector extensively in even developing a national policy framework. I saw I'm seeing some of the names here who were part of what we call the technical working group. They were involved in developing the policy framework, especially related to trade infrastructure related components of the policy. So day in, day out, we are always ready to work with the sector players so that we come. I don't even mind for us working together to come up with interesting models that can be implemented in the GEPA school, the GEPA export school. These are effective because we need a private sector. We need a private sector as well to be able to effectively implement what we want to achieve under the AFCFTA. So for us, we are always open. And once we start our market expansion, I'll be involving some of your companies as well, because we need them also to partake in these market expansion projects so that they can also benefit from government support.
Thank you. Thank you. I have the next 4 minutes more. Any other question, please? Colleagues, senior fellow men, any other question for Divine?
Yeah, Patrick, my hand has been up.
Oh, sorry, please. You can go ahead, my brother. Jacob.
Yeah, thank you. My issue is in twofold. One is a comment, and the last one is a question. Just taking the cue from his last submission, it does paint a certain picture that this whole business of the free continental trade area is something that really needs I don't know whether to say political collaboration or something, because looking at the scenario he gave as far as two siblings standing a road apart and then one making a call and that kind of stuff. So it does paint the picture that for this thing to work, we really need to have that interpolitical, commitment across all the African countries. Otherwise, I don't see where we are going with this. There was an earlier workshop or webinar that we had, and this topic came up. And for me, I think we really need to look at the bureaucracies that are within the system, because for my experience from Ghana through Togo, Benin to Lagos, that experience alone, and it will take years for me to be convinced that this thing is going to work. Now, coming back to my question, the issue of standardization, because products are produced from different parts of African countries and all that. And I'm just wondering whether what the office or secretariat is doing about it, because if we want to facilitate trade, we really need to get our standardization issues right. Because if I package yam chips in Ghana and I want to move it to South Africa, or let's say maybe Lusaka or any part of the African continent, we realize that becomes a challenge, because standardization is key. If we want to also design machines that can produce these things. So I don't know what the Secretariat is doing in that regard as far as standardization issues are concerned when it comes to product, because he talked about adding value to our resources and all that, because we have all the resources. But to add value, I think standardization becomes a key issue. So I want to know what their office is doing about some of these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Any other question? So I will add it to that of Jacob, then Divine handle both of them. Anyone else? Anyone else? Then.
Hello, boss.
All right, David, please add your question.
Thank you very much. Great. I think it is a reference to what you just said. Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
We especially when it comes to the sub-Saharan Africa, we live in almost the same geographical locations. For which reason, most of the products or the raw materials tend to be same. I want to think that there's going to be a crash in terms of output, or there's going to be a system where individual countries will have different products. Thank you.
I love that question. When you go to Nigeria, there's cassava. When you come to Ghana, there's cassava. So what value addition should Nigeria or Ghana cassava have so they can have the competitive edge? Divine, it's you.
Okay, David, Patrick, sorry, I didn't seem to get David's question because his line was quite thin. And
so he's simply saying that, for example, when you come to Ghana, there's yam, and when you go to Nigeria too, there's yam. So what special value addition will one have to the other that will be accepted within this trade? Wouldn't it be a crash? That was his question. Would it create any rather rivalry instead of a competition? I don't know, David, whether I've just asked your question well.
Yeah,
absolutely. But
yeah.
Thank you.
So, okay, that's, yes, I mean, it does, but I would equally say that we have bottled water of different brands, but some do better than the other. One, it has to do with efficiency, branding, standards, marketing as well. So these are all combined things. I mean, if we call something a market, it means same products will meet to compete. What is going to be the determining factor here? Cost of production will be key. Access to raw material will be key. Value addition will be key. So these, I wouldn't want to say that the AFCFTA is not going to create competition. It will. That's why I was saying that if Ghana doesn't set up or excite the minds of these exporters or producers or transporters properly, what is going to happen is that we should be mindful that we are also opening our doors to others to come in. So if they are coming in and we are not going out there, or even if they come, we are not able to match them boot for boot, then we'll be at a disadvantage. And for that, it is up to the member state to develop its own strategy to achieve that. We just make sure you don't violate the protocols or what the agreement says. So yes, there will be competition, there will be value addition. So it's all about how cheap you source your materials, and then how your product is being branded and the standards it has to be able to satisfy. If you look at Ghana, we are then focusing on 17 priority products, because those are products that we have comparative advantage over. Do you understand? So each country will also do that. And then based on that, we all leave it to the market to play. And then we all benefit together. That is what it means. Talking about the standards, already, I don't know if you've heard of the ASO. We have ASO, that is the Africa Standards Conformity Assessment Procedure, of what we call the Africa Organization for Standardization. That's the ASO, Africa Organization for Standardization. So they are also there to harmonize standardization across Africa. Currently, we have our own Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, Professor Alex Dodo, as their president. So these are key things that, I mean, I believe strongly he will be championing to ensure that we have a standardized format of standardization, if I can say that, across the African continent. Thank you.
Right, thank you. All too soon, our time is hugely exhausted, and I want to thank you all very much for this incisive deliberation and interaction. I will not take much from the president. I want to humbly hand over the baton to Engineer Makamwama for his closing remarks. So, Engineer, I hand over to you, please.
Right, thank you, Patrick. And let me first of all thank Mr. Divine for his time. You really shared much detailed information on NAFTA and what has it got to do with transport and logistics. Indeed, we never had these opportunities. We never got this deep insight during the African Forum. And this is exactly what we actually aim to expect at the end of these webinar, which I believe you fulfill that particular purpose. Well, thank you so much. At least living here, we've got to know as logisticians, transporters, we know the role that we played in the whole circuit, in the whole program. Coming to talk of tariff liberalization, we've got to know that that is one thing that is going to promote movement, trade, to facilitate it. Because once you have these rates low, it means the opportunity then to move more. Logistics activities tend to increase. Transport activities tend to increase. And that is where we also come in. Well, thank you very much. And we believe that subsequently, other programs in line with this will be folded out. And we would always call on you to come and assist. Now, back to my members. Thank you for your time. In fact, we're able to go as high as to about 63 plus members who have been able to log on to this. And we appreciate that. It gives us the encouragement to continue with some of these programs. It's a gray area. It's a new area. And we need to really get ourselves in there, master ourselves, so that we can really speak to it and know what it is. Once again, I will leave you here and say thank you very much for your time. Bye.
All right, President, thank you so very much also for your time. Senior colleagues, we thank you so much for making time to really participate. We are praying, Father, we thank you for the opportunity that you granted us. We are grateful to you. We've had a fruitful webinar. We commit each and every one going back to this workplace that you direct us and be with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Wish you all the very best. And I will be coordinating with Divine to make sure that we make the presentation available to all members. God bless you. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.